The Toys to Life game that started it all. Hi everyone, it's me, Gaming Do, and welcome to part 2 of Down Memory Zane. A series where we go down memory lane as Gen Z kids and we revisit our childhood nostalgia. Or, if you're not from Gen Z but you want to know what a lot of Gen Z nostalgia was like, you can join in on the fun too. But today, on Down Memory Zane, we're gonna go to a little land called Skylands and visit the Skylanders. Now, I grew up with Skylanders, especially in the start of the second half of my childhood around the 10, 11, 12 range. I love this franchise. I remember I'd always want to get the toys and the game itself. Usually for Christmas every year, as it would come out in between my birthday and Christmas, usually in October every year. And from a certain point into the series, I kind of got out of it a little bit, but we'll get more into that later. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go into Skylands again, revisit the land with Spyro, T-Rex, Swashbuckler, and all sorts of other cool Skylanders. Skylanders 1, the game that started it all in 2011. Now, I will first tell you the story of how I ultimately got into the Skylanders franchise. So, it was 2011. I remember it was October 2011, and I was going into surgery to have my tonsils out. And, well, when I went in there, I had another kid as my roommate. You know, you often get roommates at the hospital when you have surgery and stuff like that. Well, this kid was talking about passing through surgery and doing a good job and being brave, so his mom was going to get him a Skylanders game. And I ultimately asked him, curious, what's Skylanders? And he told me that it was a Toys to Life game that you get to put a character on a portal and then it appears in the game. And I was like, that sounds like the coolest thing ever. But what ultimately sold me is that he mentioned Spyro. Now, I grew up with the older Spyro games way before Skylanders even came out. During my older childhood, I remember playing especially Spyro Year of the Dragon all the fricking time as a kid. So that was like, oh my god, I gotta get this game now. Did I get that game? No. Because instead I got Lego Pirates of the Caribbean after my surgery. But a couple months later, for Christmas 2011, with my 3DS, I got Skylanders Spyro's Adventures. And the rest is history. And well, the game is ultimately about going to Skylands and stopping the main villain named Chaos, who is sort of this bald little creature. And you get Skylanders of all sorts of different elements like fire, water, tech, undead, magic, etc. And you get to go through you can only go through certain portions of the level with the specific element. And while I didn't get every Skylander, I got probably about half of them during the Spyro's Adventure age. And of the ones that I've played, Spyro's Adventures is probably my least favorite. But I still have some very fond memories, mainly of getting the game. I had a lot of fun with it. I never played the console version, actually. I only played the 3DS version. But overall, Spyro's Adventures I had a lot of fun with. But you want to know the peak of my love for Skylanders? That would be with Giants. Oh my god, this is one of the biggest childhood games of all time for me. I absolutely adore and always will have such fond memories of Skylanders Giants. I remember because I played the first game the year before, I had a whole bunch of hype for the release of Giants when I heard they were going to release a sequel to Skylanders, and my god, when I finally got this game Christmas 2012, first of all, I got the 3DS version at my dad's, so I got the 3DS version again. But also at my mom's, I got the Wii version, so I finally got to play a console version of Skylanders. And as much as I like Spyro's Adventures, I like Giants 10 times more. Oh my god. It's so important and special to me that right now, as we're speaking, I'm trying to recollect all the Skylanders Giants again. I'm trying to focus on collecting all Skylanders again because when I was 14, I believe, I really wanted to get a PS4, and it was 2016, I think, and the agreement I had with my family was that if I traded in a whole bunch of my old gen games, including all my Skylanders, I could get the PS4. So I did that, and it wasn't something at the time I cared that much about, but I do miss a lot of my Skylanders and my Skylanders memories, so I'm starting to rebuild my collection again, and I don't even have half of the Giants yet, but I have T-Rex, Eyebrow, and Swarm so far that I've recollected. But the plan is I definitely want to recollect a lot of them, maybe even for Christmas get a bunch of them back again. They're just so cool looking. I love the Giants designs in general. It's the perfect point to Skylanders in my opinion. It's different, but not like drastically different than the first game. My favorite Giant and my favorite Skylander in general is T-Rex. He's just such a cool design that it's not even funny, and I would play as him all the time, and even the following game I would put him on all the time, but T-Rex has always been my favorite. And then one of my biggest memories with this game actually doesn't have to do with the game itself, but rather a promotion that Frito-Lay's had in 2012 and 13, where you could get, with the purchase of a bag of Frito-Lay's snack packs, a chance to win a Skylanders mini, basically. I don't 100% remember what they're called, but I remember there were 4 of them, and I got all 4 of them, and I remember being so excited when they finally came in the mail. I remember it was 2013, so it was around the middle to end of the year, and I remember my birthday passed, my 12th birthday passed before the final one eventually arrived. I believe Ninjini was the last one to arrive, but yeah, Skylanders Giants is just, it's just such an important game to me. I can't even put into words, man. Like, seriously. One day, I'm going to recollect a 7th gen console, and I'm going to replay this game again. On the channel, actually. So, look forward to that sometime in the eventual future. The following year, in 2013, the 3rd game in the Skylanders series would release, Skylanders Swap Force. Now, I remember when the teaser trailer came out for this game, and you saw the trailer with all the different parts swapping from the top to the bottom, and you heard the, you can go with this, or you can go with that, you can go with this song, and I was just as hyped for this game as I was for Giants when it was revealed. Now, I remember it was almost the exact same story of how I got Giants that Christmas. I got the console version. This time, I got the Wii version. I believe I got Giants on the PS3. And I also got it on the 3DS, just like the previous two games. And, well, I loved this game, not quite as much as Giants. I'll get into a little more why later, but this game's concept is basically about you being able to swap certain characters together. You can actually kind of combine the elements in a way, which is really cool. So, for example, you can use the bottom of Swashbuckler with Magna Charge, and you would get an tech and a water force, and you could do specific puzzles with that, which is really cool. I love the element of this game. However, going into 2014, unfortunately, my hype for Skylanders was starting to die down a little bit. Like I said, by 2016, I didn't even really care if I traded these in, but 2014, I was gonna be 13 that year, and I remember my hype for the series was starting to die down a little bit. And I remember it was one of the last lines for Swap Force, I believe, was coming out before Trap Team eventually came out, and it was like, I didn't even want to buy the figures at that point. I was just like, I believe from then I moved on to, I don't know, what was my next interest? I believe it was sort of starting to get into sports more, like baseball and basketball and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm getting a little too old for Skylanders, which, coming back a decade later, I'm like, no, I'm never too old for Skylanders. I want to recollect my whole collection, and yeah. So, Swap Force was the last game I ultimately played in the franchise. So I'm sorry to say this, I don't have a heck of a lot to say about the later games. But I will say a little bit. I'll tell you the concept. I'll tell you my overall experience on what I think of the games and what I know of the later games, and yeah. So overall, Swap Force, I really like the concept of the game. I really like certain figures. Magna Charge is my favorite Swap Force figure, and yeah, let's talk about my overall experience with the last three games, which is not too much. Alright, so to end off this video, we're going to go over what my overall experience is with the rest of the franchise, which would be Trap Team, Superchargers, and Imaginators. Skylanders Swap Force, I almost asked for. I remember I had just enough interest in the game that I kind of wanted to get it, but as I said in the previous film part, that I was starting to die out my interest of Skylanders as a whole, so I ultimately decided I didn't ask for it. But one thing that really intrigued me was the Chaos Crystal, that you could basically play as Chaos, and that really intrigued me. So almost for that alone, I wanted to get it. But basically the game was like you were able to capture enemies, I believe, with these crystals, and you could play as them, I believe. It was really cool, but at the same time, not cool enough that I ultimately played it. because I didn't. And I do regret it. And someday, I think I will play this game eventually. Now, actually, I think I will play the 6th game, but Skylanders Superchargers is what we'll move on to next. That's like the one and only Skylanders game, even to this day, I don't really have that much interest in playing. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is the lowest reviewed Skylanders game in the series. It's almost just kind of Skylanders Kart, which is like kind of just weird to me, so it's just not what I'm going into for a Skylanders game, so I probably have the overall least to say about Superchargers. But Imaginators, I remember that was the first game that came out post me selling my Skylanders, so I didn't have any Skylanders, period, at the release of Imaginators. And overall, by that point, unfortunately, I pretty much had zero interest in getting Imaginators. But after looking up the concept now, I really want to play it. And I have the consoles to play it, so I may get Imaginators and Trap Team first. Oh, I think Swap Force was released on... Ooh! I could get Swap Force 2 eventually sometime soon, but yeah. Imaginators is a game I am very interested to play in the future. Now, the main thing I remember from the last two, actually, with both Superchargers and Imaginators, is the guest characters that were in the game. With Superchargers having both Bowser and Donkey Kong on the Wii version and all the Nintendo versions, I believe. While Imaginators was Crash Bandicoot, which I thought was pretty cool at the time because I liked playing Crash Bandicoot. But still not enough interest to get the game as a whole, though. And yeah. So ultimately, my experience with Skylanders was growing up like hell on the first 3 games, especially Giants, and not really playing much at all. I believe I might have played Trap Team at a store one time, but that was about it. I don't even think I touched Superchargers or Imaginators at all, but I have next to no experience with the last 3 games. But ultimately, as a whole, Skylanders will, from now on, have a very special place in my heart, and it's something I'm going to revisit for a very long time to come. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed our second adventure down Memory Zane. Skylanders was a very special franchise to me, and I hope it was to you guys too. Comment down below your overall experience with Skylanders, and yeah, that's about it. Next time on Down Memory Zane, we're gonna go on a little trip. A trip to the store. A bunch of stores. We're going to Gaming Dew's childhood stores. Yes, guys, we're gonna go to Walmart, Toys R Us, Best Buy, all sorts of other childhood stores that a bunch of you probably went to too. And we're going to reminisce about our times at those stores. So next time, we're going to go over childhood stores. And that's about it, guys. Gaming Dew here. See you later. Bye.